Hi everyone, it's Lori from Girls in the Garden, and I'm happy to be here today on December 1st. Can you believe it's December 1st? I cannot. But my plan is today to show you some holiday projects that we can do for gifts or for ourselves. And some are quick and some take a little longer, but a lot of them I made from felt and bamboo because the edges don't ravel on those things, and that speeds up the process a little bit. I bought both of them at my local dealer, or you can get them at your local craft or fabric supply shop. So anyway, and then I just had a little ribbon, but that's pretty much what I used for all of it: felt and bamboo and ribbon and embroidery thread, of course. So I've got the photos over here on the screen, and I'm going to go through and talk about what we're going to do, and then we'll get started in my Sewnet because it is just amazing what we can do in my Sewnet. And I love using it because each and every time I learn something new. So let's talk about what we're going to do. The first project we're going to do is this joy ornament. And I'll just walk you through the steps on how to create it. Next is this wreath ornament. And this was made in Word Sculpt. We're going to talk through that. My favorite right here, these really cute sweatshirts I made for my 4 youngest grandchildren. And then this snowman pillow that is all elements of either letters or super designs. And after that, we'll talk about a couple other things, but I hope to get through all of this. So I've got my Sewnet up on the home page. I have my hoop set for 200 by 200. I just kind of like to create in that, and then I can adjust it accordingly to what I'm sewing, but that gives me enough room. So several of the projects are going to be in this size. So we're going to get started. And the first thing we could do, I've got some notes on different sizes and things, so I won't have to keep experimenting, and that will save time. So if I look down, I'm looking at my notes. So I'm going to go to create, and that's where we can find the spiros. And this is what I'm using for the first one. But as we go through, you can always do random and find a different one you like. And then you can change the diameter or the number of petals and the petal type and the curvature, which I did these 3 on all of this one to make it look like I wanted. So I've got it just like I wanted, and I'm going to hit OK. So there it is in the middle of our screen. And I'm going to change the color just because it'll look more Christmassy, and then you can see what it's going to look like. So there it is in the middle. If you want to make it larger or smaller, you can just do that right here. I'm going to leave it this size because I have everything set up for here. And the next thing I'm going to do is go to lettering. And I like script, but I'm kind of picky on my script, especially when it's an L with Lori, because I like it a certain way. So I went through and I liked Patricia for this one. And I went with 22 millimeters, which fits nicely in the middle of this joy. So we're going to hit apply. Oh, I got to type joy in. I forgot I hadn't had that set up. All right, now we'll hit apply. And there it goes right in the middle, and it fits very nicely. I'm going to change that color to also red. But you can do whatever color you want when you stitch it out. So there I have joy. I did think about, if you wanted to, you could always add a little bit more in the middle here, like a small super design, maybe a heart or a bell, or you could always change the O to something else in the middle, like a snowflake. But for now, we're going to do this. And the last thing I do, and the reason I do it is, did you saw the outline on the joy? Well, I'm going to go to frames, and I'm going to pick the circle right here. It's just a satin stitch all the way around, but it does a running stitch first, which is important for what we're going to do. So I'm going to hit apply, and that one fits exactly perfect there, but you could adjust it according to if you wanted, and you could also add more spiros around this to make it even more impact, make one larger, one smaller. So I'm going to change this to red again. Now, before we go on, I want to talk about how I did that ornament. I stitch this out my machine. And when it does this last one, because we have this in the last one in our film strip, then it does a running stitch all the way around. So what I did was let it do the running stitch, and then I stopped my machine. And when you pull your hoop off, once it's stopped, you can see the outline of that running stitch. So I had another piece of felt cut, just a little bit larger than this Joy. I put it on there, and then I also did a ribbon hanger. My ribbon was a little wide, but it's all I had at home. But I looped the ribbon hanger and stuck it in between those two layers. And I get some tape from my local dealer that you can tape on the back of it and keep your piece of felt where you want it. So I did that, put it back on my machine, and pressed go. So then it stitched the satin stitch all the way around, and you're done. And when you pull it off, you can trim right around that. Now, what you have to do when you get up to that ribbon at the top is you have to pull and just trim the top and the bottom, but the rest of it you can trim all the way around. So the last thing I would do for this is I would go home and I'd hit combine all, and I'd center it in the hoop. So that's our Joy. And I think it's really cute and has many possibilities. You could do names in the middle and use it as a gift tag also. So let's try another thing with the Spyro, and I really like this one. I like this one too, but the other one I thought was really fun. So if we remember, it's this wreath, and we're going to do that in the Spyro. So let's go back to create and in the Spyro. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to find one that I like. And for today's purposes, it might not be exactly what I have in my detail in my photo, but it will be one that we can work with for the wreath. So I'm going to hit random. And yes, I do want to continue. And that one I think looks like a wreath. So we can do it by changing the petals. But I want to go kind of in between there, a little bit more. Okay, and then we can also change it by this, which is the petal type. And that looks very good. And we can also change the curvature a little bit if you want. Let's see what that does. Okay, that's what I want because I like the middle being a little more open like it is a wreath. So we've got that done. We're going to hit OK. So there's our wreath in the middle. And once again, you can make it larger or smaller. We'll just go about like this. Okay, and I'm going to change the color to green so everything looks just right. So I go over here to the design panel, double click, and I'm going to pick green. So there it is. All right, and I'm going to center it in the hoop real quick. And the next thing we need to do is go to Super Design, because on my wreath, I added flowers, but you could add ornaments. There's ornaments in Super Design. There's little bows. There's whatever you want to do. And I imagine you could find a pine cone somewhere you could put in there. So I went to Super Design, and I always like to just go up to search. And you got to make sure on the category it says all, because if it's in a certain category, it's only going to search there and not get all of it. So I'm just going to do flower. Then I'm going to drop down and find the one I want, which is right here, this one. And the size I did for that one was a 20 for our sample here. I'm going to hit apply. So as we will move it over and make sure it looks good on there. The size looks good. So I'm ready to put more flowers on it. So what I need to do is I've got it selected and I'm going to Encore. And I'm going to put 6 repeats, but we're not going to use all 6 repeats. Here's a great trick. And I really like how it looks. So I'm going to hit preview. I've got my 6 repeats. Now I'm going to make it a little bit bigger to where it fits in there. I got to squeeze it back in because I lopsided my flower or my shape a little bit more. Okay, so I have my 6 flowers and I like where it is. So I'm going to hit apply. So I've got all those. But before I click anywhere, I want to right click and ungroup, because I'm going to put right here on this bottom one, I put a bow. So I do not want that flower anymore. So I'm going to click that one, and then I can right click and delete it. So now we have room for our bow, and we have 5 flowers perfectly centered spaced, I should say, throughout our wreath. So what I want to do next is I want to group those back together. So I'm going to go over here to the film strip in my Sew-Net and hold down my shift key and click all these and then right click and group them back. That way, if I accidentally touch one of them, when I'm moving some other element, I don't move the proportions of it. So I'm going to do that. And also I need to say, if anybody has any questions or comments, you can type them in here and I'll try to answer them the best I can. And if I can't, we'll get an answer for you later. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is go get a bow. So once again, I'm going to go to Super Design, get rid of that flower and type bow. And there's lots of options of a bow, but I thought this one looked most Christmassy, or the one I liked for the Christmas. This one would be cute too. And looking at my notes, I need to make my bow 40. And we'll see how that looks. I'll pull it down here and see if that's big enough. I think it looks good. You could always make it a little bigger if you want. So there's our design with all these elements right here, looking really good. So the only thing I need to do now, like the picture down here, is to add, whoops, well, that's not what I want to do. Sorry, folks, is to add a bow around, or an outline around it. So I'm going to go back to frame, and you can do one of two things. You can take your circle, and then you can, I found with this right here, with that bow hanging down, your wreath is not perfectly circular like it was. And I liked it better with a little bit of oval shape. So you can either pick the oval, or right here, or the circle, and just proportion it how you like it. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to hit apply and see how right now it cuts off the bottom of my bow. So I can do like this and just make the proportions how you like it. However much white space you want between this frame and your wreath. So let's change the color of that just for looks, and let's make it green. All right, and this one I did just the same way. On mine photo, it doesn't look like that because I had this idea I would use some gold thread. Well, it got so tangled it didn't look cute, so I cut it off. So I would definitely add the loop of ribbon, because it's just neater and easier, and it's in the hoop and you're done. So I'm going to go home, combine all these, and center it in hoop. Now, what I do need to say, and we'll really touch on this later in my next thing, is we're going to talk about how to put things in certain order. So on this one, it's not that important because I did the frame last, but next time you'll see why. So here's these two. I hope you're really enjoying these spiros because I think they're fascinating. I think each time you go in to create one, you just get totally anything different. So it is just super fun. So this is done, and we're going to delete it. And the next thing we're going to do is this star ornament. And it did it again. Sorry. So we're going to do the star ornament. And it was created, let me get those notes, in Word Sculpt. So let's go to Word Sculpt, which is under Create. And I'm going to make my hoop bigger a little bit just so we have more room. Our design will fit the hoop. And I'm just going to do 260 by 260 so we can add some more lettering. If you're doing a tag, you probably don't want it that big, because I thought this would be a really cute gift tag idea to tape on a present. So we're going to hit OK. So we've got it big enough, and we're going to go to Word Sculpt. All right. There's lots of choices in Word Sculpt. You can drop down the menu, and you can see every choice there is. There even is a Christmas section, and I'll drop down here, and you can see that. Oops. I think it's under holidays. So there's some choices for holidays: a snowman, a leaf, a candy cane, as you can see. I went with the star. I just thought that would be fun. So I'm going to fit it to the hoop as like it says, and then I'm going to go next. So I already set up what it was going to be. And I thought it was fun this time to change the wording instead of just Caitlin and like say Caitlin Christmas present, because in my family, we have lots of birthdays in December. So I have presents that are Christmas, birthday, everything. So, and they are mostly wrapped in birthday paper, but sometimes you run out of birthday paper. So you just use that Christmas paper. So I thought if I made these tags, then I could always say birthday present and put it on it and be kind of fun. So you can change what your margin or your font size is. So if I change my font size, it starts eliminating some of those choices. But let's go back down so it's just all filled up. So it's got Caitlin Christmas present all over it. You can also always select a font, but I think the random is pretty fun. And when you stitch this out, you can have all of them. You can, we won't today for purposes of time, change each color, but you could at less stops, or you could just make it all one color, but you could arrange it like you wanted. So I've got Caitlin and Christmas present and fit in the hoop. So let's hit finish. So there it is, big and all around. Now, before we do anything else, if you don't like where something is, ungroup, and then you can just move that one around. Like I don't want where present is. You can use your arrow keys to move them around, or you can rotate it, or anything you want. Or if you don't like it right there and you want to put a super design in there, then just delete that one. But I'm going to hit undo and put them all together. Okay. Well, we'll just click them all together. So we got all these, and normally I'd group them back together, but today I won't do it for purposes of this. So I have Caitlin Christmas present, and in my sample, I did a star because I thought it'd be fun. Like I have some room right here. We can add a star and super design. So let's see what our star is. I have lots of choices of stars. And I kind of like these that had the running star or the star trail. So I'm going to do that, but we're going to take it much smaller because there's not that much room. So let's try 12. Let's go. I forgot we're in the 260 hoop, aren't we? So I do actually have a lot of room. There we go. So we can move this where we want it. We can rotate it to add just a little bit of extra. And I could repeat that or duplicate it several times to add a little bit more throughout this because we are stitching on felt and it'll add a little dimension and a little pleasing to the eye. So I'm done with that. But what does every tag or even an ornament need? Because we could have done this on the other ones, but I thought it would take away from the way the ornament looked. But here, an eyelet. We need an eyelet to move. So we are going to go in and create our own eyelet. Now, if I search in Super Designs, I don't find one. But if I go to Letters and I drop down and I go to Script, I'm going to go to Traditional, excuse me. Let's go right here to Clarendon. And what is an eyelet? It's simply a circle, which is a 0 or an O. Don't do a 0 because it's kind of more oval. So I'm going to do a capital O. And I am going to do it about a 20 for this. So there it is. We're going to move it up here. So there is our eyelet now. But we're going to have to do a few things, and I am going to have to group this. So bear with me while I group some of these together. I'll just do a few as we go down the film strip. Because for what I'm going to do next, it makes it a little quicker. Okay, we've got all the lettering grouped. We have the star and the eyelet by itself. And what we want to do is for our felt to go on the back and to make it look right, we're going to stitch all those names or all the names and the words out. And then this totally lost everything that time. So we're going to do a blank canvas And we're going to go this. And we are going to just open my design, and we can talk about it from there. So, all right, this was my simpler one. That was the adjustment. And if I ungroup it, I won't let me ungroup. But what I did was I moved the star to the next to the last, and then the eyelet at the end. The eyelet has to go last, so it will stitch through both sides, and we can go from that. And so that's that one. And the next one we're going to do is the reindeer, which is super cute. So let's do the reindeer, and we'll go from that. So let's hit delete here, and we're going to do our hoop to 260 by 260. So we have plenty of room. So the reindeer is really comprised of always just modifying. And we're going to go to Super Designs. Let me get my notes on that one. And from there, we're going to type in reindeer in Super Design because we're going to just get part of the reindeer. Because we don't have any antlers from Super Design. And so we're going to take this one. And we're going to take him up to 200 and apply that reindeer because he's got very cute antlers. So there he is. And we just want the antlers parts. We do not want anything else. So I'm going to hit modify, and I'm going to hit OK. So we can do it two ways. And the easiest way to do is just click off the colors we don't want. So now we're down to antlers and the eyes. So we're going to go to box select, and I want to get rid of this one. So we're going to hit delete, and then we got to click off these again to get the other one. All right, and then we're going to box select again and get that last eye and hit delete. Okay, once again, there it is. So there's a little bit that we have left here. And you can see a little bit of a stitch there, but we're not going to worry about it. So we're all done here. We're going to go back to Super Design. Oh, wait, I needed to go. Sorry, I should have copied it. So let's take those off again. Okay, there we go. So we're going to select that. It's going to say select all visible stitches, and we're going to duplicate, and then we're going to go back to Super Design. We don't want this one now that he's all good, so we're going to delete him, and then I'm going to paste our reindeer antlers. So the antlers are right there, all ready for what we need, and we're going to make them bigger. I'm going to stretch them out however big I want them. And it doesn't change the stitches because we made it as big as we could in Super Design, from what I believe. But if you don't like the way it stitches out, you could always paste these, like stitch it again, and then it would be thicker. But for my purposes of what I sewed out, I thought they looked really cute. So there's our reindeer antlers. We'll move them up here, and then let's change the colors to brown. Okay. There's the reindeer antlers. Right here is a little bit of the stitches that I can go in and modify and take those two stitches off, but for today I won't. All right, the next thing we're going to do is you could do a couple different ways. You could do an applique for the eyes and the nose, but I love the look of all the embroidery. So I like to keep the embroidery on there and just do it with a circle that's all filled in with embroidery. So for the next part, I am going to go to circles. Once again, I'm searching in all the category all, and I'm going to drop down, and I use this one right here. And I'm going to go to 60 with it because I want the circle to be pretty big because we're going to do 60 for the eyes and smaller for the nose. So we'll do 60 and hit apply. We're going to modify this one again, and this one's be easier because we just need to take out the blue color. So we're going to go to modify, And I'm like, okay. So we're going to take off the blue, and everything we need now is right there on that circle. So I'm going to say select all visible, and I'm going to duplicate, and then we're going to go back to Super Design. I don't want this one anymore, so I'm going to delete it. I'm going to paste my eyes. So there you go. There it is in the eye already. So let's move it over to what we need and put it where you think the eyes would go. And I am going to duplicate this one and move it over here and get them about in the same spot. Now we're not done with the eyes because I'd like to put, let's change the eyes to black. Because I'd like to put a center in for the pupil. And we'll do that by doing that same design. And we'll give it a white center. So I'm going to go to this design, and we're going to go to about 20. So I don't want it really big in there. That maybe should have been a little bit bigger. Let's go to 30. All right, that looks good. So we're going to do the same thing again. And it's kind of nice to do the same thing. It's practice. And when we practice, we kind of get some muscle memory and remember what we're doing. So I'm going to click off the blue. Then I'm going to select all visible, and I'm going to duplicate. So let's go back to our Super Design, delete this one, paste this one in, and I'm going to change it to white. And let's duplicate it again. And then copy and then duplicate or paste. And let's move one over here. And you can do it however you want your eyes to be looking. All right, there they are. You could even them up if you wanted. Now we have the nose, and Rudolph has a red nose, right? So let's go back here and let's go to about, I did 60 for the eyes and 30 for the inside. Let's go to about 40 and see how our proportions look. And we could probably make a bigger nose. Just depends on how you want. For today, we'll do it like this. Once again, we'll go to modify, and it's selected. And I'm going to click off of that. And then I'm going to select all visible. And then I'm going to copy it or duplicate it, sorry. And then I'm going to go to Super Design, delete that one, and paste. Move him down. And let's change the nose to red. All right. There's Rudolph. I think his nose needs to be bigger, but today we won't do it. Now, what I did for my grandkids on each one of these was I did each one different. And so one, I went and got a Santa hat. So let's go over here and do Santa hat. And I picked that one, and we'll go to about 45. And I just put it on there. And you can play with it, move one. And this one is, you can kind of just hang it off of his antler, and it looks really cute there. Another idea, let's delete Santa hat. And I did an ornament and made them hang like earrings. So let's find ornament. I did this one right here. Let's take it to 45. A little too big, but we'll do it just for today. So you could hang it off. On my design, I did 4. I probably wish I did 3. I like uneven numbers better. So we would copy, and let's paste it twice. And we'll paste in the center that time because it'll be easier. And then we can hang one off of this antler and this antler. So there you go. And the last idea, or not last, next to the last idea, let's delete these, is I did a hat and the cowboy hat. So we've got a cowboy hat, or my 4th idea was a bow. And let's delete that one, and let's do a bow. I did the same bow I did for the wreath because I just thought it looked so cute. And apply. That's a little small, but that'll work right there. And I did it to personalize and make each grandchild feel special with their own unique one. Plus, if they're all together, we know whose sweatshirt is whose. I want to show you something real quick up here. We can see how this stitches out. And I want to show you something that I did not know until I did this for the first time. I was stitching this out, and I was stitching it on white sweatshirting, and I had planned to put white in the eyes. But let's play and get up to the eyes. Look how smart my Sonette is. It knew to remove those stitches from behind the white. So I just didn't need to put white on top of white. So I skipped that thread change and went on to the next. So I just found that amazing. And it did the same thing on the wreath. The wreath was where behind the bow, it took out the stitching, not behind the flowers, but just behind the wreath. So anyway, and it does it right here on the bow of the antlers too. Super neat. It keeps you from building up too much thread and keeps your design looking top notch. Thank you, my Sonette. I really appreciate that. All right. My next and final one for today is we're going to do a snowman and let it snow. But it's not a snowman design. I built everything from this snowman, and I made a pillow with it, but you could do table runner, sweatshirt, anything, but it's pretty big. So I did a pillow with it. And I did all of it from either letters or super design. So let's get started with that snowman. And we'll delete each portion of this. All right, so I've got it in the 260 by 260 hoop right now, and we'll leave it like that. That's a pretty good size. You can always adjust accordingly. So the first thing we need to start with is the balls for the snowman. So I typed in circles, not that way though. And I could do several different circles, but I had an idea too. You can make each one of the 3 balls on a snowman be a different spirograph. And that would be really fun. You could close them in so it'd be solid, or play with the petals and just get whatever you want. So that would be a really cool looking snowman with using the spirograph. But I didn't think of that when I did mine. I kind of thought about it when I was practicing for this. So I am going to just use this one right here. And we have to do gradual sizes. So my first one I did an 80. So there it is. So it'll stitch out in a pattern, give you a little dimension. I moved it to the bottom, and we'll change it to white. So maybe I'll change it to another color so you guys can see it. That doesn't show up the best. Okay, then we're going to do the next one to 60 and 40. I did each one of them by 20. I'll combine these and then we'll change the color. So we got our gradual look of our snowman, and then the head's going to be 40. So let's combine all these snowmen, because once I arrange it and get them like I want them in the 3 tiers, I don't want to accidentally move one, because we're going to layer things up. So if I combine these 4 together and group them, then they're always going to move together. So there they are. Then we'll change the color of each one of these. And I'll do kind of a pink. Maybe. There we go. So we'll leave it like that, and then my other items will show up, because you guys know how to change the color, and that way we can go on. So from there, I wanted to make stems for the arms. And we have a cute stem, or a branch, I should say, but I found it under wreath. Let's go to wreath. And right here, that little one right here, berries. worked perfectly. So I did it with 50. I'm going to click this one and make it size 50 and hit apply. So our wreath is over here. I mean, not our wreath, our branch. And I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to paste it in the center so I can find it. So we'll move that one over, and then we need to rotate them. And then we need to rotate this one. So you can play with the placement of that and put them just where you wanted. And if you wanted to, if you were using something thicker, then you could probably do change your order and do the branches sewing first and then your snowman to where it looks like the branches are inside your snowman. So that would be a good thing to do. My snowman needs buttons for his coat. So that's what we're going to look. We're going to look for buttons. So there's a button, and he is going to be at 10 is what I found was a good size. We're going to hit apply. We are going to change that color so you guys can see it better. And I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to copy and paste it twice. And it's in the center now. So I'm going to use my arrow keys to move it up. Sometimes when things are smaller and I don't zoom in, you can change the shape or the proportion of it. So it's easier to do it this way. So we're going to copy and we're going to paste twice. And I got them right on top of each other one. So we're going to move them down. So we have 3 buttons right in a row. And if you do use your arrows like this, you know they're going to stay in the center. So I'm going to move it down to the bottom of the snowman. I'm going to get the second one and then move it down centered between the 2. So our snowman has buttons, arms, 3 balls, and now we need to do eyes. And for the eyes, I'm going to letters. And in letters, I'm going to put a period in here, and we're going down to a traditional font again, and we will just use this one again. And the size I found was good was a 30. That way it was pretty big. We could see it on the face. And we're going to apply. And we're going to change the color to black so I can see it. And this one, it is going to take some time because every time I touch this one, with my mouse and moved it around, it just got out of proportion like crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and move this one up for the eyes. Then we're going to copy and paste it again to the spot we need it. And I did black because coal for the eyes, but you can do whatever color you want your snowman to be. So let's copy and let's paste this one. And it's right beside that one. So if we just go strictly over, since we copied and pasted together, they're going to be parallel. So there we go. We got 2 eyes. And now we're going to do the mouth. The great place about the mouth, and this is some place that I have found so many things that I use music category for several things. And when we drop down in music, right here, that is a nose and a mouth when you turn it upside down. So it needs to be 12, what we had for the eyes. I'm going to hit apply, and we're going to leave it orange. And I'm going to move it up here, and I'm going to go home and rotate it till it's where I want it to be. Okay, now that I've got it just right, I'm going to center it on his face. Okay, there's our snowman. It's a little high. I'm going to click it and move him down. There we go. So next thing every snowman needs is a hat. And my hat is going to be from the frames that we used earlier to go around our ornaments. So we're going to go to frames, and I'm going to get a square, and I'm just leaving my hat open in the middle, but you can always pick one that was filled or applique. So there is my hat. I'm going to hit apply, and we'll change what size we need for this. And we're going to put them up there. And you might have noticed right here, the stitches did change as I changed the size. So we've got the top of the hat. We got the top part of the top hat. So the next thing I need to do is make a brim. So for the brim, I'm going back to Super Design. And in the music category, right here is what we need. And for that line, I went with a 50. Apply, it's in the middle. So we're going to move it over to the side. And we can rotate it real quick. We'll go home. And we're going to rotate that to be straight. And then we're going to move it up. There's our brim. And we would make these the same color so the hat would stitch the same. And the next thing I did was I just put let it snow. I thought it needed some wording, and I think wording kind of adds a lot to it. So let's go to lettering. And I did a script in Lydia is the one I liked for this one. Let's go back down to script. And Lydia is right here. And we're going to type it in two parts. We're going to type let it. And the size I liked was 30. And we're going to hit apply. And let's do one more thing to make it look a little bit different. We're going to return between this one and then make it in two lines. So you can do let it like that, or you can do it in one line. And then the next part I'm going to do is snow, except I'm going to leave a space for the O, and we're going to put a snowflake there. So here's snow. I'm going to leave it straight right down here at the bottom. We're going to go to Super Design, and we're going to look for a snowflake. And the last one's the one I picked for today, and it was at 20. And we're going to move our snowflake down here. And it fits in there just so nicely. So there is our snowflake. But today, when I was practicing for this, I thought of a couple more things we could do to embellish our cute little snowman just a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is put something on his hat. We're going to go back to wreath. And we're going to put this double holly on here. And 15 is what I found would be a good one for this. And I just put it on the side. I kind of wish I'd done this on my stitch out because I just think it added so much for it. And then I thought maybe the snowman might need a scarf. So I couldn't find anything exactly like I wanted for a scarf, but I went back to that bow, which I didn't need to type. I think it was in wreath. But I went back to this bow because I thought it would be really cute right there at the neck of the snowman. And so let's go with 35 and see if that's a good choice. It does cover up one of your, we could offset it a little bit. Let's do this. You could always offset it to the side so it doesn't cover up your button, and you can move your button down just a little bit to make it look a little different. And one more thing we could do. Let's go in and check out bird. Let's see if there's any cute bird that would be sitting on his branches. So we'll just go with this one for today. We'll try 40. It's probably a little too big, and we need one that's filled in, but I just thought of that idea, so thought I would do it. And then you could stitch it out. You could also add more snowflakes as they were falling down if you wanted to fill in your background a little bit more and add a little bit more to your snowman. So I just think that's really cute. We can go to the home, hit combine all, and we can center in the hoop. So there's our design. Let's go add a few snowflakes. I just want to see what it looks like real quick. And we can try some of these, and we need to go to 25. And you can make varying sizes, but let's apply that. And we can copy and paste it a couple times and move them around. And we can add some more in smaller sizes. Let's add a couple at 20. So anyway, I think that's pretty cute, especially if you had some really neat fabric. Stitch it out on velvet would be really pretty and add so much dimension. Do need to play with that bird a little bit. It wasn't quite the right one, but I thought it looked really cute on there. And this is something that you can just let your imagination. I find when I start creating in my Sew-Net that the ideas just start coming to me. And like I'd made this a couple weeks ago when I was invited to be part of this broadcast. And I thank them very much. And I'm sorry for the hiccups on my internet. But I just start thinking more and more, like when I was practicing today, that's when I thought of the bow and the holly, and it really adds so much to your design. So get in there, play, look for ideas, and just have fun, because there's just so much to do with this. I do have a mug rug that I had made for this, and I didn't think we'd have time, which we didn't. We're almost up to 50 minutes. But I have that on my blog, which is girlsinthegarden.net. And also the video is on my Instagram, girlsinthegarden.sews, because I do a lot of sewing garments, and I also incorporate the embroidery in that. So that video is up there with other ones. And as you can tell, maybe here's some on my sleeve that I did in my Sew-Net and used Encore and put it on the cuff of my blouse. So anyway, I think that's all I have. If you guys have any questions, add them to the comments. Someone will get back to you with it. But I really enjoyed sharing these holiday projects, and I hope you have lots of fun creating with some of these ideas. Thanks very much.